If you're reading this, it means something in the universe has aligned. Maybe you found this message by accident, or maybe you were meant to. Either way, I want you to know that I've been trying to reach you for a while, not through calls or messages, but through moments. Through thoughts that flash across your mind when you're half asleep, through the questions you can't shake, through the sense that there's something more you're meant to do. That's how the universe communicates when it can't use a phone. I've learned something over the years that I want you to understand. The people who change the world never feel ready. They never feel like they have enough, know enough, or are enough. I didn't. When I was starting SpaceX, people told me it was impossible. They laughed. When Tesla was on the edge of bankruptcy, people called it stupid. When I said I wanted to build tunnels under cities, they called it madness. But you know what? Every great idea sounds insane until it works. Every visionary is called crazy until they succeed. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, if you've ever been told your ideas are too big or too strange, then you're exactly the kind of person I've been trying to reach. You see, the world doesn't need more people who follow the script. It needs people who write new ones. And maybe that's why this message found you. Maybe you've been playing small, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to start. Consider this that moment. Consider this your green light. Because the truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to hand you your dream. You build it, brick by brick, with your own hands, fueled by your own stubborn belief that what you see in your mind is real, even when nobody else can see it yet. I've made countless mistakes. I've failed publicly, lost money, faced ridicule, and worked myself to exhaustion. But I never stopped moving forward. The secret isn't being fearless, it's being terrified and doing it anyway. Fear will always exist, but courage means acting in spite of it. You can't wait to feel ready. If I had waited until I was ready, Tesla wouldn't exist. SpaceX wouldn't exist. Neuralink wouldn't exist. The future belongs to those who begin before they're prepared. Maybe right now, you're standing at a crossroads in your life. Maybe you're tired, unsure, stuck in a loop of someday. I know what that feels like. I've been there. But the funny thing about someday is that it never comes. The universe only gives you now. Every dream that's ever changed humanity started with someone deciding that now was good enough. Right now, this moment, is your launch window. You don't need to be a genius to make a difference. You need persistence. That's it. Genius is overrated, consistency is everything. You'll be amazed how much progress you can make by refusing to give up, by showing up every day even when it's hard, even when nobody's watching. The people you admire, whether it's inventors, creators, leaders, they didn't get there because they had it easy. They got there because they kept going when others quit. If there's a vision inside you, something that keeps you awake at night, it's there for a reason. Don't ignore it. The universe doesn't place dreams randomly, it chooses carriers. You were chosen for this one. It might not make sense yet, and people might not understand, but your job isn't to convince them. Your job is to believe it yourself so deeply that the world eventually has no choice but to follow. When I launched SpaceX, I knew the odds were against us. Rockets exploded. Investors backed out. People mocked the idea that a private company could do what only governments had done. But I didn't stop, because the goal was bigger than embarrassment, bigger than fear. That's what keeps you moving when logic says quit. You find something bigger than yourself. So I'll ask you, what's your Mars? What's that thing so far away, so impossible, that it terrifies you just to imagine it, but you can't stop thinking about it? That's the direction you need to go. Most people never make it because they're afraid of failure. But here's the truth, failure is data. It's not the end. It's feedback. Every failure you collect is a piece of information about what doesn't work, and that's priceless. The faster you fail, the faster you learn. So instead of running from mistakes, make as many as possible. Build, test, break, fix, repeat. That's how rockets fly, and that's how dreams take off. You have something the world needs, even if you can't see it yet. Maybe it's an idea, a story, an invention, a way of thinking. Whatever it is, stop underestimating it. The people who change the world aren't smarter, they're just more relentless. They refuse to settle for average. They refuse to let fear win. They refuse to let time slip away while they wait for someday. If you've ever felt alone in your vision, remember this: solitude is the birthplace of innovation. When the noise fades, your inner voice becomes clear. That voice, the one that whispers, "There's more for you," isn't lying. It's guiding you toward your next evolution. You're meant to be uncomfortable right now. Growth is uncomfortable. Launching a rocket is loud, chaotic, and dangerous, but it's also beautiful. You can't reach orbit without leaving the ground behind. Maybe that's what this season of your life is, your ignition sequence. I've met people who think small because they fear disappointment. They say, "I'll just settle for less, it's safer." But the truth is, safety is an illusion. Playing small doesn't protect you, it kills you slowly. The human spirit was built for exploration. You're wired to create, to build, to stretch, to reach. When you ignore that instinct, you don't feel safe, you feel empty. That's why no amount of comfort ever satisfies. You're not supposed to stay in one orbit forever. You're meant to ascend. I'm not asking you to become me. I'm asking you to become you, fully, unapologetically, without compromise. The world doesn't need another Elon Musk. It needs you, operating at full capacity, thinking differently, daring to imagine what others won't. Your perspective, your ideas, your energy, they're the missing variables in someone's equation. You might think your contribution is small, but in the right context, it can shift everything. I've seen it happen countless times. One person decides to take action, and it ripples out in ways they'll never see. Someone designs a part that becomes a key component in a rocket. Someone writes a line of code that powers millions of devices. Someone shares an idea that sparks a movement. You never know who's waiting for you to start. You never know whose life will change because you had the courage to begin. You don't need to know the entire path. You just need to take the next step. That's how progress works. Step by step, mistake by mistake, adjustment by adjustment. People overcomplicate success. It's really just momentum. Once you start moving, things align. Doors open. People appear. Resources show up. But only after you begin. The universe rewards motion, not hesitation. Maybe this message feels personal. That's because it is. I'm not speaking to millions right now, I'm speaking to you. You, specifically. The one who's been doubting themselves, delaying their next move, underestimating their potential. You think you're behind, but you're right on time. You think you've missed your chance, but the truth is, your timing is perfect. Everything you've been through, every loss, delay, disappointment, was preparation. The rocket has been refueling this entire time. You might think you need permission or credentials or capital to begin. You don't. You need movement. The first rocket we built at SpaceX was held together by optimism and duct tape. We failed 3 times before a single launch succeeded. But each failure taught us something critical. That's how you build resilience, through repetition and review. So whatever you're building, whether it's a business, a skill, a dream, embrace imperfection. Launch early, learn fast, iterate relentlessly. There's also this illusion that successful people have some secret formula. The only formula is consistency plus time. I worked 16-hour days not because I loved exhaustion, but because momentum compounds. Small actions, multiplied over time, produce breakthroughs. The discipline to continue when motivation fades, that's the edge. You already know what you need to do. The question is whether you'll keep doing it after the excitement wears off. That's when real creators are born. You'll also have to let some people go. Not everyone can come with you. Some will drain your energy, some will project their fear onto you. They'll tell you to be realistic. Realistic is just code for average. If you surround yourself with people who only see obstacles, you'll start shrinking your dreams to fit their vision. Find those who see possibility. Protect your energy like it's oxygen, because it is. You can't build a rocket in a room full of people who don't believe in flight. And don't measure your worth by comparison. You're not in competition with anyone, you're in evolution with yourself. The world tries to make you feel behind, like there's a timeline you must follow. There isn't. Your journey is nonlinear, unique, chaotic by design. Comparison is the thief of authenticity. Stay in your lane. Build your thing. Measure progress by effort, not applause. You'll also need rest. I used to think burnout was a badge of honor. It isn't. You can't change the world if you destroy yourself. Energy is your most precious resource. Learn to recharge. Walk, read, stare at the stars. The greatest insights often arrive when you stop forcing them. Balance isn't weakness, it's maintenance for longevity. A rocket doesn't stay in orbit by burning constantly, it coasts strategically. Do the same with your mind. Sometimes people ask why I care so much about Mars, about multiplanetary life. The truth is, it's not about Mars. It's about possibility. If humanity can reach another planet, it proves there's no limit to what we can achieve. It's a metaphor for every dream we dismiss as too far. You have your own Mars, something that seems unreachable but keeps calling you. Don't silence that call. Let it pull you upward. When doubt whispers that you're not qualified, remember this: every expert once started as a beginner. Every engineer at SpaceX once wrote their first line of code, built their first model, made their first mistake. Competence is earned through curiosity and repetition, not inherited. If you're willing to learn, you're already ahead of most. Curiosity is the fuel that sustains innovation. Never lose it. And please, don't wait for inspiration to act. Action creates inspiration, not the other way around. Some of my best ideas came from experimenting with terrible ones. Creativity is iterative chaos. You only discover brilliance by walking through mediocrity. So stop waiting for the perfect idea. Pick one, test it, break it, rebuild it better. That's how momentum is born. When you start succeeding, stay humble. Success isn't a destination, it's a responsibility. The more influence you gain, the greater your duty to use it for good. Build things that elevate humanity, not just your ego. Wealth and recognition are side effects, not goals. If your work improves even one person's life, it matters. Scale that impact, and you leave a legacy. Speaking of legacy, think long-term. The world moves fast, but the most meaningful contributions outlive the person who made them. Ask yourself, will this decision matter in 10 years? 50? That's how I make choices. Temporary pain for permanent progress. Sacrifice is the currency of significance. You can't build something timeless with a short-term mindset. You're going to face isolation. When you operate at a higher frequency, fewer people understand your signal. It's not loneliness, it's clarity. Use that solitude to refine your purpose. When you return to the world, you'll bring something purer, stronger, sharper. Innovation requires incubation. Don't rush that phase. And don't fear change. You'll reinvent yourself many times. That's evolution. People will cling to an older version of you because it's familiar, but growth requires shedding. Let them misunderstand. Keep transforming. The only constant in my life has been reinvention, software to rockets to brain interfaces to AI. Reinvention keeps you alive. Stagnation is the real death. You might lose sometimes. Projects collapse. Partners leave. Plans crumble. Good. That's how life resets the stage for something better. The most painful endings are often disguised beginnings. When a rocket explodes, we don't scrap the mission, we analyze the debris. We find the flaw, strengthen the structure, and try again. Failure doesn't define you, response does. If you ever feel too small to make a difference, remember, every revolution begins with one person who refused to stay silent. One spark can ignite a chain reaction. Your courage is contagious. When you move, others will too. Don't underestimate the power of example. You might not see the ripples, but they're real. There will come a moment when things finally click, when your effort compounds, when the path you carved starts to make sense. You'll feel a strange calm, like gravity releasing its hold. That's momentum. That's liftoff. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen if you persist long enough. And when it does, you'll look back and realize every struggle was propulsion. When that moment arrives, stay curious. Keep learning. The minute you think you've mastered something, you stop evolving. I study constantly, read endlessly, question everything. The future belongs to the perpetual students. Keep asking, what if? That question built every innovation in history. As you keep building, you'll encounter skeptics who say humanity is doomed, that effort is futile. Don't believe them. Cynicism is just disappointed idealism. People give up because they forget that small steps accumulate. Every solution matters. Every idea counts. The future isn't written, it's coded by the hands that dare to type. You might also struggle with self-doubt. Everyone does. I still do. The trick is to act before the doubt finishes its sentence. Self-belief is a skill, not a gift. You train it by doing things you think you can't. Every time you survive discomfort, you rewrite your internal code. You prove to your brain that fear is false data. At times, you'll wonder if your dream is worth the cost. It is. The price of purpose is discomfort, but the reward is peace. There's a serenity that comes from knowing you gave everything you had. Even if the result isn't perfect, the effort itself is sacred. You'll sleep differently when you know you tried fully. If you ever forget why you started, revisit the moment that lit the spark. It's still there, waiting. You'll find it in the quiet, when the noise fades, when you breathe deeply, when you remember that you're alive on a floating rock orbiting a star, with consciousness capable of shaping reality. That's a miracle. Don't waste it scrolling endlessly through distractions. Focus that miracle on creation. There's a saying I live by,